When my daughter told me I wasn't welcome for Christmas, I smiled, closed my wallet, and waited. By the end of the week, her tuition payments had been exhausted. But that was only the start of my plan. Sometimes, justice means letting karma speak for itself. You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For years, I thought I'd done everything right as a father. I worked overtime to pay for Olivia's private school, her violin lessons, and her dream of attending college out of state. Our home was filled with laughter, Sunday dinners, and the kind of traditions that make a family feel unbreakable. Even after her mother and I divorced, I made sure Olivia never felt the cracks. I was there for every birthday, every school play, every late-night phone call, when she needed advice or just someone to listen. But as Olivia got older, things started to change. She became distant, her texts shorter, her visits home less frequent. I chalked it up to growing pains, the natural pull of independence. Still, every Christmas, she'd come home, and for a few days, it felt like we were a real family again. That's why her message this year hit so hard. Dad, I'm staying at school for the holidays. I just need some space. Please don't make a big deal out of it. I should have seen it coming. The signs were there, her new friends, the way she'd started, talking about boundaries and toxic family patterns, phrases I'd never heard from her before. I tried to brush it off, telling myself she'd come around, but the silence in the house was deafening. Her stocking hung by the fireplace, untouched. The tree lights blinked in the dark, waiting for a daughter who wasn't coming home. That was the moment everything changed. I had nothing left to lose. What was really keeping Olivia away, and who was behind her sudden change? Christmas morning arrived, and the house felt colder than ever. I tried to distract myself, made coffee, watched the snow fall, even called my sister just to hear another voice. But Olivia's absence was a weight I couldn't shake. I scrolled through social media, hoping for a glimpse of her, maybe a post about studying or spending time with friends. Instead, I found a photo that made my blood run cold. Olivia, smiling, at a holiday dinner table, surrounded by her mother, her stepfather, and their side of the family. The caption read, "Grateful for my real family this Christmas." I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. Real family. The words echoed in my mind, sharper than any argument we'd ever had. I should have seen it coming. Her mother, Lisa, had always been the master of subtle manipulation, turning every disagreement into a reason why Olivia should keep her distance from me. Over the years, she'd painted me as the strict, old-fashioned parent, the one who didn't get it. Now, it was clear. Lisa had finally succeeded in turning my own daughter against me. I scrolled further, piecing together the story from photos and comments. Olivia hadn't just chosen to stay away. She'd been convinced that I was the problem, that our family was toxic, that she was better off without me. The betrayal story was written in every smiling face at that table, every inside joke I wasn't part of. That was the moment everything changed. The broken trust, the years of sacrifice, the love I'd poured into raising her, it all felt like a cruel joke. But as the anger built inside me, I realized something else. They underestimated me. I wasn't about to let Lisa rewrite our family's history. What would I do now that I knew the truth? And how far would I go to make things right? I spent the rest of Christmas Day pacing the living room, replaying every memory, every sacrifice, every moment. I'd put Olivia first. The betrayal stung deeper than I could have imagined. I kept hearing her words, real family, and Lisa's voice behind them, twisting the knife. I should have seen it coming. For years, Lisa had undermined me, planting seeds of doubt, painting me as the villain in every family. Drama. But this was different. This was war. By evening, I'd made my decision. I walked into my office and pulled out the thick folder marked Olivia College. Every tuition payment, every receipt, every scholarship application I'd filled out late at night while she slept. I stared at the numbers, tens of thousands of dollars, all to give her the future she dreamed of. My hands trembled, not with regret, but with resolve. If Olivia wanted to cut me out, if she truly believed I was the toxic parent Then it was time for her to stand on her own. I picked up the phone and called the university's financial office. "This is Mark Evans, Olivia Evans' father. I need to cancel my tuition payments effective immediately." The woman on the other end hesitated. "Are you sure, sir? The next semester's payment is due in 2 weeks." I took a deep breath. "I'm sure. She'll need to make other arrangements." As I hung up, a strange calm settled over me. For the first time in years, I felt like I was taking control of my own story. They underestimated me. I had nothing left to lose and everything to gain by finally standing up for myself. How would Olivia react when she discovered her tuition was no longer paid, and would Lisa step in to save her? The days after Christmas passed in a blur of silence and anticipation. I waited for the fallout, knowing it would come. Olivia didn't call, didn't text, but I kept an eye on her student portal, where I still had access. As the account holder, on New Year's Eve, a notification popped up. "Payment overdue. Enrollment at risk." My heart pounded, but I felt no guilt, only a cold, determined clarity. This was the price of broken trust. I started digging deeper, determined to understand just how far Lisa's influence had reached. I scrolled through old emails, messages, and even Olivia's public posts. Breadcrumbs were everywhere. Subtle digs about controlling parents, comments from Lisa's friends about setting boundaries, and even a few posts from Olivia's stepfather, praising her for choosing happiness over obligation. The more I read, the clearer it became this wasn't just a family drama. It was a calculated campaign of parental alienation. I printed out every message, every screenshot, building a file of evidence. I needed to be ready, not just for Olivia, but for anyone who questioned my side of the story. Years of being painted as the family scapegoat had taught me that the truth was my only weapon. I should have seen it coming, but now I was prepared. Then, late one night, my phone finally rang. Olivia's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring twice before answering, steadying my voice. "Dad, did you cancel my tuition?" Her voice was tight, angry, but underneath I heard fear. "Yes, Olivia, I did. We need to talk about what family really means." That was the moment everything changed. The confrontation I'd been dreading and waiting for had finally arrived. Would Olivia listen to my side, or would Lisa's influence prove too strong to break? Olivia agreed to meet me at a quiet coffee shop near campus, her tone clipped and defensive on the phone. I arrived early, nerves buzzing, replaying every conversation we'd ever had. The place was nearly empty, the air thick with the scent of espresso and winter coats. When Olivia walked in, she barely looked at me, her jaw set, eyes flashing with hurt and anger. She sat across from me, arms folded. "Why would you do this, Dad? You know I can't afford tuition on my own." Her voice trembled, but she tried to hide it behind a wall of pride. I took a slow breath, choosing my words carefully. "Olivia, I've supported you every step of the way, but I won't keep paying for a relationship where I'm treated like the enemy. I saw your post, grateful for my real family. If that's how you feel, then it's time for you to stand on your own." She looked away, blinking back tears. "Mom said you'd do something like this. She said you'd try to control me." The words stung, but I kept my voice steady. "This isn't about control. It's about respect, about not letting a toxic family narrative rewrite who I am as your father." I slid the folder of evidence across the table, screenshots, emails, years of support. "I want you to see the truth, Olivia. Not just what you've been told. I'm not perfect, but I've always been here for you. I deserve better than to be erased from your life." She hesitated, her fingers trembling as she opened the folder. The look on her face was priceless, a mix of confusion, regret, and realization. For the first time, I saw the wall between us start to crack. That was the moment I knew the story wasn't over. The real confrontation was just beginning. Would Olivia finally see through the lies, or would she walk away for good? Olivia sat in silence, flipping through the folder. Each page was a piece of our history: birthday cards, tuition receipts, photos of us at her high school graduation, even old texts where she'd called me her hero. I watched her face shift from anger to uncertainty, then to something softer, almost vulnerable. The coffee shop's hum faded as the truth settled between us. She finally looked up, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know, Dad. I didn't know you kept all this." I nodded, my own voice thick. "You were never just an obligation, Olivia. You're my daughter. I fought for you, even when it meant sacrificing everything." Tears welled in her eyes. "Mom always said you were trying to control me, that you only paid for things to hold it over my head." I shook my head. "That's not love, Olivia. That's manipulation. I wanted you to have every opportunity, but I can't keep giving if it means losing myself in the process. Family isn't about money, it's about respect, honesty, and showing up for each other." She wiped her eyes, staring at the evidence of my devotion. "I'm sorry, Dad. I got so caught up in what everyone else was saying. I didn't want to believe you could be the villain, but it was easier than facing the truth." I reached across the table, my hand trembling. "It's not too late, Olivia, but you have to decide what kind of family you want. I won't be the scapegoat in this toxic family drama anymore." She squeezed my hand, her grip tight. "I want to fix this. I want my real dad back." That was the moment everything changed. The wall between us had finally started to crumble, but the hardest part was still ahead. Would Olivia have the courage to confront her mother, and could our family ever truly heal? The days that followed were a whirlwind of raw emotion and difficult conversations. Olivia called her mother that night, her voice shaking as she demanded answers. I could hear the argument from across the room, Lisa's voice rising, defensive, then pleading. Olivia didn't back down. "You lied to me, Mom. You made me believe Dad was the problem, but I've seen the truth now." The words echoed in my mind, a bittersweet victory in this long family drama. Lisa tried to regain control, spinning stories about protecting Olivia and blaming me for every hardship. But the evidence was undeniable. Olivia started to see the patterns, how her mother had always played the victim, how she'd used guilt and manipulation to keep us apart. The realization was painful, but it was also freeing. For the first time, Olivia questioned everything she'd been told. Meanwhile, word spread through the family. My sister called, offering support. Even Olivia's stepfather reached out, apologizing for his part in the toxic family dynamic. The truth had a ripple effect, exposing years of broken trust and betrayal. Olivia withdrew from her mother's influence, choosing instead to rebuild her relationship with me. But healing wasn't instant. There were awkward silences, tears, and moments when old wounds reopened. Still, each day brought a little more hope, a little more of the daughter I thought I'd lost. Karma strikes back. I thought, not with vengeance, but with the slow, steady work of justice served. That was the moment I realized forgiveness is a process, and real family is built on truth, not lies. Would Olivia and I find lasting peace, or would the scars of betrayal haunt us forever? Spring arrived, and with it, a sense of cautious hope. Olivia and I started new traditions, Sunday dinners, long walks in the park, honest conversations that sometimes hurt but always healed. She transferred to a local college, working part-time to cover her tuition. It wasn't easy, but she said it felt right to finally stand on her own, to rebuild our bond without strings or secrets. The house felt alive again, laughter echoing in rooms that had been silent for too long. Lisa tried to reach out, but Olivia set boundaries, refusing to let old patterns repeat. Our family wasn't perfect, but it was real, built on respect, forgiveness, and the hard-won lessons of broken trust. I learned that justice served doesn't always look like revenge. Sometimes it's simply reclaiming your place in the story and refusing to be erased. If you've ever been the scapegoat in a toxic family or felt the sting of betrayal from someone you love, know this: you're not alone. Healing is possible, but it starts with the truth. Document everything, stand your ground, and never let anyone convince you that you don't matter. Thank you for watching. If this family drama or revenge story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share your own experiences in the comments below. Where are you watching from, and what would you have done in my place?